Hey Husker fans, Sam McKewon with the Omaha World-Herald, omaha.com, and HuskerExtra.com. This is the 3 keys to Nebraska beating Oklahoma. That's not going to be easy because Oklahoma's a 22-point favorite. Maybe it's 21 today, but Oklahoma's supposed to win this game. I think Oklahoma knows that. I think most Nebraska fans know that. And so our 3 keys aren't just going to be about winning the game, but how you stay in a game like this. Just like we presumed that Nebraska was going to beat Fordham, we go into this game thinking that Nebraska kind of has a long shot against Oklahoma. So what does it take to beat a top 5 team on the road? First of all, Nebraska's not done this very much. They haven't beaten a top 5 team on the road since Scott Frost did it in 1997 when Nebraska beat Washington, which was number 2 at the time. Prior to that, it didn't happen very often either. You got to go back to Oklahoma State, then you got to go back to a game against Texas in 1960. So let's be clear, most teams don't do this. It just doesn't happen that often. And so Nebraska's got a tall task ahead of it trying to beat a top 5 team on the road. Where does it start? Well, it starts here. Adrian Martinez has been pretty darn good in the pocket so far this season. He really has, right? There's been flaws in the running game. They've tried to run the ball. But when they've thrown it, he's had enough time to throw the ball that he's been able to manipulate the pocket. He's been able to move around the pocket. He's been able to scramble from the pocket. He's done a lot of good things on pass plays, whether it's deep passes or long runs. But here's the reality. Oklahoma's pass rush is good inside and it's good outside, right? Nick Benito on the outside, Perrion Winfrey on the inside. This is one of the best pass rushes in the country. Adrian Martinez is not going to have the time that he had against Illinois when he was sacked many times, or Fordham or Buffalo when he wasn't sacked very much at all. Oklahoma is going to be the toughest pass rush he faces, so he's going to have to set his pocket clock ahead a couple of seconds. You're not going to get those 6 seconds to do what you want to do. You have to assume that you're going to get about 1.5. So you'd better hit your drop, you'd better be ready to throw, and guys better be open. They're going to have a short, controlled passing game, whether that's with screens or that's with things over the middle, crossers, things like that. They're going to have to be on their marks. Now, some of Nebraska's routes tend to be longer, right? Those long over routes that Patrick Mahomes always hits with Tyreek Hill. Well, Nebraska's tried to hit a few of them too, and they've been successful to some degree. But they're not going to get as much time as they'd like to make those plays. Nebraska's offensive line has to do a good job of blocking, but we have to assume that Oklahoma's pass rush is going to get home, and in getting home, Adrian Martinez has to be faster with his drops, faster with his reads, and make the play about 1 to 2 seconds more quickly, or otherwise it could be a long day. Key number 2, tackle. What is this? Well, yeah, of course they got to tackle, right? You always got to block and tackle. You always got to do those things. But with Oklahoma, it's really important to tackle. My sense is that Nebraska is not going to go out there with too much swag on defense and think to themselves, we're just going to man everybody up and we're going to cover them all the way down the field. No. I think you're going to see Nebraska do what it's done to some degree in the first 3 games. They're going to give these guys cushions. They're going to make plays. They're going to tackle. They're going to force 4th downs, and they're going to punt. And so I think you're going to see Nebraska force Oklahoma to try to drive down the field. Take 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 plays to get into the end zone. The way that you screw that up is by missing tackles. And I have watched enough Nebraska football games over the years in hot weather on this kind of track to know that Nebraska has struggled to tackle on unfamiliar surfaces against fast teams. 2012 UCLA is probably the one that I remember the most, but there's been a lot of these games. When Nebraska's had to tackle really fast and skilled players, they've struggled. And so it's important that Nebraska tackle its rear end off, that they hit all their marks, that they get guys off their feet, that 12-yard gains don't turn into 27-yard gains, because when that starts happening, that's when Oklahoma can turn on the floodgates. Oklahoma's got a good scheme. It's a hard scheme to stop, but at the same time, what's really important is their playmakers tend to make plays after they make a catch or after they get the ball. Nebraska's got to be on its mark tackling. The 3rd key, fight. Now this seems kind of obvious, right? But the bottom line is that Nebraska is a huge underdog in this game. They don't have that much to lose. Okay, if they lose 56-7, then maybe they do. Maybe they have their pride to lose. But they don't have a lot to lose as it relates to winning or losing this game. A win is nothing but like pounds and pounds of gravy, right? If you go in there and you lose by 7, people are going to walk out of there feeling pretty good about themselves. Oklahoma doesn't lose often at home, and Nebraska doesn't often win games like these. So the bottom line is that Nebraska has to play like it has less to lose, and it has to fight its tail off. And even if it gets kicked in the teeth early in the game and falls down 14-0, don't quit. Don't panic. Oklahoma's the kind of team that gets very comfortable when they get a big lead. You cannot quit on a team like Oklahoma because they will let and have let their foot off the gas, especially on defense. So Nebraska's got to turn this game into kind of a street fight. They've got to battle a little bit. They've got to try to be more physical than Oklahoma. And as the game goes on, they've got to try to exert their physical will because Nebraska doesn't have many advantages in this game, but they do have this. They're a little bit bigger, especially vis-a-vis Nebraska's offensive line to Oklahoma's defensive line. So if you can get this game into the third or fourth quarter and start running the ball downhill, maybe you have a chance to win it. I don't love Nebraska's chances to win this game, let's be honest. This is an important game for a lot of different reasons. It's not necessarily a must-win situation for Scott Frost. Honestly, those games start next week against Michigan State, and boy, the stakes are going to go way up then. In this particular game, I think Nebraska can play free, they can have fun, they can be loose, and you never know. Maybe they pull off something special. There have been teams that have went into Norman, Kansas State last year, Iowa State a couple of years ago, that have either taken Oklahoma to the wire or beaten Oklahoma. Those Kansas State and Iowa State teams don't have that much more talent than Nebraska. In fact, they may not have any more talent than Nebraska. So, as a result, what helped those teams is their style of play and their tenacity. And if Nebraska has that, and they go in there and they play hard and they fight, you never know. Maybe in playing a par 4 like a par 5, they actually get a par. You just never know what'll happen once they put the cleats on and they go on the field. If Nebraska manages the pocket and hits some passes, has a quick passing game, they tackle and they fight hard, maybe they got a chance. I'm Sam McKewo'n with the 3 keys on the Omaha World-Herald, omaha.com, and huskerextra.com. Thanks a lot.